Ajay Yadav is the co-founder of Simplified, the must-have tool for all content creators. Prior to this, he founded Roomi, the go-to app for finding roomies. He raised over $20 million in capital and grew it to over 3 million users. What makes Ajay's story even more captivating is the deeply personal journey behind his success. He is the quintessential Indian boy who left his home to chase the American dream. But what compelled him to make this leap was a powerful force: escaping shame. Little did he know that this would become the driving factor propelling him towards success in the United States. Today, Ajay shared with me the moments of resilience that shaped his path, the acts of fearlessness that defined his journey, and how he continues to be a lifelong learner no matter the circumstances. So, whether you're searching for that ray of hope to guide you from your lowest lows to your highest highs, or simply seeking an inspiring story to fuel your ambition, you're in for a treat. Ajay's story is a testament to the indomitable spirit of human ambition and the power of relentless pursuit. So go over, watch the episode, and keep meditating. So, welcome Ajay, welcome on Pragyaan. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation because I have so many questions for you on you and your journey, and also on the new venture Simplified that you brought on, and I think many opportunities there. But before we talk really about the business, I wanted to just sort of take you back and say that you're living this sort of dream story. When I look at you, you're this perfect Indian story, which is you moved to the US when you were 17, raised about $20 million in venture capital, exited that business. If there is someone who is thinking of living that dream, and there are many Indians who are thinking about that, what is your advice to them?
When I go back in time, the perfect story of growing up in India and then moving to States. First, that was my first flight.
Oh.
Ever. Yeah. That was my first flight ever to anywhere. Like the first plane I ever got on was to the States. And I think my only lesson that I think I take with me on that flight, I didn't see myself as actually competing in India. Mm-hmm. India is very competitive. Every student who's today studying actually thinks about wow, do I actually make it? Can I make it in this highly competitive world? So I thought I was running away because I couldn't fit into India. I thought that I failed my high school twice, like 12th grade. So I was like, I can't make it here. So maybe I have a better chance in these States.
Wow. So you failed and you were running away, and then running away has actually made you make this dream for yourself.
Make this dream come true. And I think maybe the lesson here is that I didn't give up on myself. I was actually failing, but all I knew that I still might be able to do something else that maybe doesn't fit where I am today. I'm not getting the support system, because I would have to be excelling in education, right? Like go to IIT, go to maybe JEE, all these great schools that I can't, they won't take me because I won't even crack the exam, right? So I'm like, maybe I can do something else. And maybe if I got away from here, maybe that is a chance for me to explore what I truly want to do. And I had no idea what I would want to do, but I did love technology. I just always loved computer science, like in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. And I was like, maybe if I get away from here and do something, then. So lesson was really just not to give up on yourself. So often when you're failing and the world tells you you're not good enough and you can't do something, you just give into that thought process, right? And then you say, maybe I'm just not good enough. I'll stay here and I won't do much in my life, right? I didn't do that to myself. I'm like, maybe I think I'm more and I can do more. Let me just get away and try somewhere else. Maybe there's a better opportunity out there.
Fantastic. When you failed, I'm sure at home the environment would have been extremely volatile, and also it would have been also not something you would have enjoyed walking into and also living in. So what was that for you?
Failing in India, I'm sure it's changed now, but failing in India is the most brutal thing that can happen to any kid, right? Because you're being compared. Forget failing for a second. Once you have your board exams of 10th grade, it's not like, hey, how much did you get? No. How much actually that other chacha, mami, and your friends and the neighbors, and how much, let me compare you with everyone else that I know, from relatives to the neighbors. So they did better than you. How can you do better, right? So
True.
you failed yourself, even if you do as good as you can. So for me, that was like, now imagine failing, like actually failing and not passing your 12th grade exam, not once, twice. So first time was like, this is, you'll be cleaning, restrooms, and you'll be like on the streets, and, the chaparasi and those.
You're good for nothing.
The good for nothing,
Shaadi kaise hogi tumhari?
Yeah, no one's gonna look at you, and this is your total disaster, right? Now you're like, we have given up on you. And this is not coming from even like your own family. This is coming from all those people, the relatives, the neighbors, the school, right? Like all of it, right? So I think is the most brutal thing that happened to me, I think. And I couldn't even get my head out of it. Sometimes you think like, you just run away. You just want to run away.
Yeah.
Maybe do something else. And you think maybe you won't ever pass an exam ever again. So it was devastating.
Also must have been very lonely, right? Because you feel like the very people who you lean on
Yeah.
when you're a young adult, which is your parents and your family, are the ones who are in some ways ostracizing you, right? Because you failed and you're like, you're not good enough.
Yeah, it's like they're under immense pressure, right? I mean, I think your family, even if they wanted to support you, right? Okay, it's okay, you fail, let's work hard and do it, right? It's almost like they're supporting you, but from outside pressure. So still it's like, hey, you have to pass not because it's good for you. You have to pass because this is how you make me look. Look at what they're saying.
Oh my
Look at
God.
what they're talking, right? So you have to pass for everything around you, but for yourself. That you should pass so you can be good. You can do something good in your life, right? So that was like, I think the pressure, I can't even say. I mean, and I failed again. It's not like I just couldn't try. And the last time, I think, when I did try, I was like, I did it for running away. I literally did it for, if I pass, can I leave this country?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want it to be here anymore. All that constant bashing, constant like you're good for nothing, constant you won't be anyone, you won't be as smart. You are not as smart actually, right? Why would I want to live here? I'd rather just go abroad as a failure and maybe
And
try my
create
luck
your own
there.
destiny.
Something.
Yeah.
So that was it.
Also, now when you talk about how you failed twice, it's like 1 second. But that 1 year between the first failing and the second failing
Yeah.
would have felt like eternity.
It was brutal because I couldn't go to the same school, right? Because failing was not seeing your friends. Imagine you were in a school where you failed 12th grade. Now the 11th grade comes up to the 12th grade. And you attend the school like, oh, look at that guy. Oh, you're from the last batch of like the failures, right? You're sitting
Yeah,
here.
so much shame.
And then even your teachers. I mean, you it's hard to even imagine what it is. And because the teacher like look at you like, I don't even explain you, right? You are such a failure. Like everything is around that. Everyone, I think, gives up on you so easily. And everyone is like, this is it, man. You're done. And this is good for you now, right? You're just going to move on and you're going to stay here, basically. Yeah, looking back was tough.
How did you dig deep for that?
I think leaving was just, I don't think failure bothered me too much. I don't think I was afraid of failure, actually. Not at all. I don't think I'm afraid of any failures in life. So failing was not the one that bothered me. It was more what came with it, how people treated me. And of course, the pressure on my family as well. And my friends, my school, my teachers. I think that's what really bothered and broke me than actually failing. I have no 2 cents about failing. I can fail all day, And so that was hard because you live in a society, right? In India especially, you're a collective effort. It's not like an individuality where this is me and I do this thing and screw it, you don't have to worry about my life. This is more like, hey, I'm here, but I'm all with all of you. And then what I do, everything matters and you're all with me here, right? So
True.
Yeah, it's a collective thing.
True. So then you moved to the US and, you decided to do your own startup and super successful, Rumi. Tell me a little bit more about how did you come up with that idea? How was the startup? Just some of the resilience that I hear you developed when you were in India helped you be successful in a new environment.
I mean, India definitely gave me the grit. I mean, India is one of the best countries for so much happens to you in so many different ways, and you just have to keep fighting. But the thing with the Indian spirit is just like keep fighting, right? Because scarcity mindset. so many people competing for the same exact seat, same exact job, same exact, like even metro, I think, and bus seat, right?
So true.
Right?
Even these small things feel like victories in our life.
I think it's tiny, right? Even
Yeah.
getting that, actually, if you don't get in a line to get the best kachoris here, right? You feel like, I
Yeah.
want to get it fast, right? I mean, I'm here, man. So I think all those small things that I remember, and I haven't spent much time here now since like 17, 18, right? But that gave me the foundation to really build something in the US. And when I first got there, I thought, oh, wow, I'm actually really smart here. I was good at maths, good at science, actually, and that's what matters the most. And I think at my stage, I was like really just winging everything. I thought I was the smartest guy in that class, you know?
Amazing.
And I think that gave me a lot of confidence. And then I was really good at, I think, learning really, really fast. So my focus there was really in the first 6 months. I remember someone asked me, hey, can you build a website? I literally remember that line. And first I thought, okay, so I look Indian. That's why you asked me if I can build a website. But no offense, I think I can. I had no idea how to build a website. And I hired someone and built the first website. And that was the journey I went on to build my first company before Rumi, actually. And then I actually still kept failing in my classes in college as well, because I was just so busy building my business. I was just one of those kids where every other kid was just in the cafeteria, hanging out, making friends. You're in the US, you're in New York at this point, you know?
Oh, wow, okay.
You're having all the fun, and you can imagine I was just this weirdo that was just leave the class, go to my apartment and just build my business. I was selling websites, hiring team in India, learning about SEO, doing all these things that I think mattered to me a lot. And I thought I had no social life for like the next couple of years, actually.
So basically, you weren't doing well theoretically in class, but you were actually building businesses and making
Exactly.
yourself financially independent. And
Exactly.
not only that, giving jobs to many other Indians who were sitting here trying to build their own careers and
Yeah.
their own journeys.
I mean, I thought that I think one thing I learned from my failures in high school was that at the end of the day, if I can learn skills over the degree, I think I might be in the long run better off. That was my thinking. And I was like, if I'm in college, what else can I get out of here? If I spend all of my time just studying, and that's, of course, I did as well, not fully 100%, but
Yeah.
I was there, I was present in every single class. I was like, what else can I do? What can I learn? And that was the one that, can I build a business? Can I know how to get clients? And can I learn the culture? One thing I was really big on always is, if I am in the US, I want to live like in the US. That many people don't do when they get there, because it's very scary.
So true.
So I left my community when I first got there. After the first 6 months, I had 0 Indian friends. I just did not interact with anyone who looked like me for a long time. And that was the only way and the fastest way I learned the language, the etiquettes, how they behave, how you talk to them. Everything that I know today was because of those hard decisions. It was very hard because I'm not like going to eat parathas in the Indian restaurants, and I just left everything behind.
Yeah.
I went from vegetarian to non-vegetarian, not eating meat at all, to eating everything I can imagine, and fully integrated into the culture. It took a lot of time, but it helped me so much.
But it also take a toll on you because, the instinct is to try to fit in. And fitting in is always far more difficult than this intrinsic sense of belonging that we have, right?
Yes.
I think your natural sense is to belong to where you come from and your roots. And so you sort of countered that instinct to actually look at how can I push myself to learn more and to integrate, because that felt like it was going to serve you in the long run.
I think what really happened, so when I first got to the US, I was in Pennsylvania. I was the 3rd student in the entire undergrad program who was Indian.
Oh.
So funny enough, I didn't go to New York. That college had no people that looked like me. In undergrad, right? 3 people. 2 of the students were actually senior. So they would not want to hang out with just some random junior freshman college, right? But they still met and gave me time and whatnot. And I could not speak in English. So I just couldn't do it. I can read and I can study it, but English was bad in speaking terms. So I ordered the sandwich. Like, I had to eat, of course, go out and go to cafeterias and order food. And I was so shy, so uncomfortable, so just like really beating myself down all the time. And then I learned to pronounce exact things that I can order from Subway sandwich first. And then I learned to pronounce the sandwich I used to order, like chicken tender melt. I ordered the sandwich for months. Same sandwich, I would go to the same place and I would do the same thing. And I think I did this thing where I sort of like made this pact with myself. I said, whatever the heck I'm scared of, I'm going to say yes to it. Whatever that is. Like whatever comes to mind, if I'm scared of ordering a sandwich, I'm going to say yes to it. It was, I think, the most beautiful thing I've done to myself. And that's what has made me who really, whatever I've done so far is because of that. And I've been scared so many times in my life, you know. And that was like ordering a sandwich. And then I said, one day my friend told me that, hey, you know what, if you want to be someone, you should be in New York. And I was like, wow, that is scary. And I said, well, I should be in New York. I applied the same semester, and the next semester I left and I went to New York. And the rest is history.
Wow, I mean, actually, I'm blown away with what all you shared. No, seriously, I just think that there is not enough value that's attached to being so fearless as what you just mentioned, because more often than not, we're always trying to hide. And, you know, our survival instinct tells us not to be so fearless, not to take those risks. And you, I think, in everything has been counterintuitive, so to say. And you know, that's why you sit here being so successful.
I mean, I think it's because if you really look deeper, I think, and I've asked myself these same questions sometimes, not all the times, right? Is the why did I do that? If you really think, leaving India and going to the States because I failed, and I told myself, so I can't go back. So really everything I did is for that reason. So if I failed in the US, what would happen? I have to go back. I have to literally go back to the place where what I wanted to leave, right?
And avoid and run away
And avoid and
from.
run away. So I had no choice but to do things differently. And that was like more like just facing my fears, right? And they were, and that's why building a business, because I like, what if I don't get a job? What if I graduate and I'm not the brightest kid out here, right? What if I don't get a job? Well, what's going to happen? I have to go back. So I kept thinking that everything that can happen to me might lead me to go back. So how can I do something different? So I really, and I grew up, I think, being a kid who thought I would just grow up, I would have a job, buy a house, you know, get married. I literally like a typical, I think I call it a very generic life that I could have had, right? And it's nothing wrong with that. And I think I thought I was the one. I was scared of starting a business because I couldn't understand the complexity of it, even though my dad is a business person. So I think I learned a lot from him. And I think that's what led me to but starting to face my fears, what changed everything? You face your fears and you do things that you never imagined that you can do.
Yeah, incredible. Let's talk about, you had another moment like that, right? Where now you were on a high, you know, in July 2021, you decide to actually leave Rumi. And so another pivotal moment in your life. You know, I think when startup founders have their own businesses, it's almost like you're nurturing a little child, right? It's very, very difficult to let go. And yet you decided that you were meant for bigger things and wanted to move on to your next venture. How difficult was that letting go? And what really made you feel like it was time to move on to something else?
You know, starting Rumi, I think probably one of the best journeys I've been on. It's one of those ideas where, you know, oh, I have a problem. I can't find roommates and let me build something, right? It's like all ideas start from something like I have a problem and I'm going to solve it, right? And I end up solving it. But being a solo founder, so since I had no connections in the US, I had not many friends either back in the days. It was just me. And being me was like, just like, let's get to work. Let's not worry about too much. What's going to happen, who's going to join me, and how I'm going to pay for my bills, whatever that is. I'm just going to go and build this company. I ran that company for almost a decade and raised over $20 million of capital, millions of users, and it's become the brand in New York. If you go to New York today and you ask someone, where can I find a roommate? You most likely will hear a word called Rumi.
Fantastic. What a proud moment for you, no?
I think that is the proudest thing I think I can think of. Rest is all just grueling lessons. The ups and downs that breaks you every day. And I've been through so many of them. It's one of those relationships where you learn the most And at some point you realize I cannot stay here for longer because I have to make room for myself to grow and do things that I have never done before. So Rumi was a point where I promised myself the day I get it to profitability, like literally the day, the next day I will be moving on.
So just when you start to enjoy all the hard work and the sweat and the blood that you've poured in, you decided to move
I
out.
decided to move out because it really took so much to get there.
Yeah.
Most companies, just as an example, most companies never make money. Most companies never ever get to over $1 million in revenue. We did all of that. And I think that was like, it just took so much out of me as a solo founder. You know, you have co-founders, you have someone to lean on, right? I had none of that. So I was making those mistakes where you would make as like a 20-year-old kid, right? A lot of emotional challenges, a lot of leadership challenges, just a lot of like execution challenges. I think I just didn't know how to handle all of those. And I was, I think, growing. Rumi was actually helping me grow really, really fast. And I think I was ready for that. But at some point I thought, I need to now learn things that are not Rumi. So still grow faster. And I think I've grown much faster now. But I think definitely something different, not in the same environment, with the same people, with the same company. And that was super hard for me to leave. But I knew if I left the company, I think I'll be a very different person, ready for the next big challenge in my life.
I want to double click on the challenges that you mentioned. You know, what do you feel are like, you know, just from a conversational point of view, top three, or, you know, some things that you think back that you could have done differently. One is you could have done differently, or even if you don't want to take it that way, it could simply be something that makes you or has made you better for who you are today.
I think, you know, when you look at like running a company, I think your biggest priority should be, I think, your people, right? And you learn this lesson the hard way. So imagine now that some 20-year-old has never managed people, okay? And has never seen money in their life. You give them millions of dollars and say, now you grow the team. And you have, if not like 50 or 100 people working with you or for you, you have never managed those people, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's just, you're thrown into it. So you don't know how to really lead people. You have this big ambition, you're very passionate. You're the one who can solve all the problems that no one else can solve. I think that's what founders are really good at, attacking the problem, not be scared. They can do whatever they want to, right? And I think that's sort of I really wish I had some management experience, but I wouldn't change that either because that's how I learn. I can't go to school and learn that, or I had to learn it somewhere, right? So I think that was it. And I think becoming a better manager, becoming a better leader, and I'm really proud that I've learned that through Rumi actually, and I'm doing much better now. And I think second was learning to figure out you got to make money to run a business. It just took too long for me to understand that. Because you know, growth at every cost is a concept that every startup lives by. Grow, and one day we'll figure out how the money needs to be made. You can't just grow, and expect that money will just come to you. You have to think about making money so one day you can be self-sufficient and maybe grow faster.
So true. So true.
That was the second lesson I think I learned. And the last one I think is that sometimes, you know, you have to not be the CEO. Maybe sometimes you don't have to be the one being in charge of everything. Let other people do it and let them lead and let them do that. And I think that's why in my new company, I'm not the CEO. You know, I'm a co-founder, but I'm not the CEO. I just wanted to take a backseat and maybe lead in a different way.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of the Indian startups are in that second category where we're on this massive valuation high. And even today we have a few companies who've listed and they still don't have a path to profitability. And, you know, yet a lot of these unicorns or a lot of these companies are being put on a pedestal, being hero worshipped. And when you have the average MSME or the average, even large enterprises who are churning out profitable businesses, employing thousands or sometimes lakhs of people, and you don't even read about them.
Less value, yeah.
I
mean, I think I think people should make money. Companies should make money, period. Regardless of profitability or not profitability, companies should just make money. because startups grow faster, and I think sometimes it takes longer to be profitable, and that's, I think, okay. But not making money is not a start, not a good start. Is I think non-negotiable almost. If you don't make money, it's just very difficult.
I mean, it's counterintuitive when you
Yeah.
think about these valuations because there is no strength in the balance sheet. And
Yeah.
anyone typically thinking about a business will be like, okay, when am I going to get my money back? Which is which is how even a VC fund or an average investor thinks about a business. Tell me a little bit more about, since we're on this topic of Indian startups, we're facing a lot of corporate governance issues. I'm sure
Yeah.
you must have
Yep.
heard about many startups. What I'm hearing you and from what your values is that you were very clear that you want to do it the right way, and
Yep.
you also want to make sure that the business was profitable. You created value for yourself, for your employees, and for the people who invested in you and believed in you. Are there some things that you felt, or were there moments when you needed to take this very critical decision between your value versus growth?
Yeah.
And how did you really navigate around that?
I mean, the hard way, So Rumi went through a really difficult phase where it didn't create any value for anyone, not for myself, not for the investors, not for the employees. And I think overall the concept is, I really think about when you hire someone as a founder, the biggest thing you do is sell them a dream,
Yes.
right? This big vision that one day you and I are going to change the world. One day you and I are going to be also financially stable. And when you think about the end employee, they start to plan their whole life around it, right? And I would do the same thing. Your family, your kids, whatever that is happening, you put all in, right? And then because of the sort of the collective mistakes of the company, and if you don't focus on the right things like creating value for the customers, and then the employees, and then the investors, right? The company might not succeed. Now you sit again in front of the same exact employee. You say, hey man, listen, this is not working.
Yeah.
All those dreams I sold you, they were not real. And I think that can be changed when you change your first time when you sit there and actually sell them a dream. You have to really bind yourself that, hey, you know what, wow, this is very serious. If you're going to work with me on this journey for the next decade, we're both in this together. So we'll both try to make decisions where we can actually collectively all win. And I didn't do that in my first company. I didn't do that in Rumi. And that hit me really hard. Letting go people is the hardest thing you can do as a founder. And when you do it, it's just because you're the one to blame, regardless of what it is, right? And you go through all these emotions. And you ask yourself, you can either blame everyone. You have a choice to blame everyone you can imagine, from the market, from the investors, from the product, or you can say, you know what, let me just blame myself. Let me just start blaming myself. Let me just accept all of this happening to me. And then you start to ask yourself, what can I do differently? If I had a choice to build a new company or build the same company again, would I make different decisions? And can I put my team at the center of all of it?
Amazing.
So I think I just did that, but I had to learn the hard lessons that only I can teach myself.
Yeah, and I think just the acceptance that you're talking about, where you decided to really be accountable for what went on. And I think in your case, you didn't even have a co-founder to blame, right? Or
It was
finger
just me.
pointing.
I tried. It's hard. You go through a really rough phase. You really go through a really rough phase. You beat yourself up all the time. Failing is hard.
And tell me a little bit from that July 2021 moment when you decided to leave Rumi to now when you started Simplified, right? What did you do? How did you work on yourself? How did you come up with this idea of Simplified? What does that look like?
So crazy enough, my co-founder, KD, actually, he hit me up. And I was planning to actually build a fintech company. And I was about to raise capital, about to build my team, and I was super excited. And then he said, hey, I'm building something. Do you have some time so I can show you? He was, I think, 3 months in the product journey, Simplified. It wasn't called Simplified by then,
Okay.
And he showed me the product. I said, this is super cool. And I was at that point angel investing, and I was also doing a syndicate. I said, I want to do my first syndicate for your company. I want to actually be a part of it, and I'll invest. So I ended up investing $200,000 in that company as a syndicate. So I was in. deep in with that money and then commitment. And then we ended up kept chatting, and this was so exciting, the idea that anyone on the planet can start designing just by clicking some buttons, drag and drop, and you have a design from presentations to graphics to videos and whatever you wanted. And I wanted to be a part of it, but not as a co-founder, not as like running a company. We kept chatting, and I think it made sense that, hey, let's just join forces. Instead of us going in two different directions, and he was a solo founder.
Oh.
It's like, what if we come together as a team? What if we build this together? So it took a while, but I think I said yes. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this. And I think we have never looked back. It's been one of the best decisions of our lives to build Simplified together.
So I am hearing a lot of, baggage that you brought in from Rumi, where there was some amount of resistance to, again, start a new company and be a co-founder, because I think some of your experiences was like, you're good at maybe starting something, solving something, having the bigger picture, but you just don't want to run the operations because...
So what I brought from Rumi was not a baggage. What I brought, a lot of learnings. A lot of amazing, beautiful things that I brought from Rumi, actually, because I cleaned it up like on myself. I had to go through that phase of acceptance.
Yeah.
And that made me stronger. I think that made me realize what I want to do next. Very clear on what that was.
Did it also help you understand what you're good at and what you're not?
Absolutely. And I think also helped me understand not only what I'm good at, what I'm not, what I should be doing that I didn't do before. And I think with my co-founder, we are very complementary. He's very product. So kind of I do the same thing I did at Rumi, but deeper. All the finance, operations, growth, hiring, expansion is the same thing as a CEO would do, right? But a CEO would also do product and sales, right? And customer support and blah, blah, blah. So I think the big vision. So we just like divided that. And we said, okay, we are complementary to each other. I think we can really use our strengths to really elevate the company and really grow fast. So I just brought the learnings, and I was just not ready to be driving this thing.
No, and it's also a good framework for people to think about when they're looking for co-founders, because very often, it's very confusing. Most often than not, you do it because you're just buddies and you're like, you have the same idea and you start off. And then when you are 1 year, 2 year into the company, you realize, oh my God, like this is not working out because either your values don't match or your skills don't match, or what you said about it being complementing. Are you really fitting in? And are you able to pick up on stuff which I'm not so good at, and vice versa? So this is a great tip for people to think about that.
I mean, you can have a co-founder that is the same thing as you.
Yeah.
You can have two people, right? Like
there's bound to be conflict.
Just conflict. You can't be like, you can't just do that. So you need complementary skills. You can both ride in different swim lanes. We call them like, this is your swim lane and this is my swim lane. We'll swim as fast as we can. We'll do the best we can, but we'll do it in our lane so we can both help the collective bigger goal. Instead of fighting each other, exact same skill set, oh, we should be doing this and we should be doing that. And having co-founder conflict is one of the biggest reasons why companies fail.
Yes.
It's bigger than the money and capital and everything else. Once the relationship falls apart, you most likely are going to be the company would be dead.
Yeah, because that is the foundation.
That is the foundation.
And if that itself is in a way shaky, everything else will just crumble after that.
You can't save it.
Yeah. So what's your goal with Simplified? And, tell me a little bit more about what you're building. What is the vision for you? I'd love to know a little bit about that.
Simplified, and when I said yes to okay, why should we build Simplified? My thing was, I'm a creator. I love brand building. I've always believed that your brand should be bigger than yourself, so that whatever you build, you can carry your brand with you. So building brand and creating content for me was like, I use so many tools, from designing and then to making videos and now writing all this copy, and then you have social media management, right? And you often use all these tools. And at my last company, I realized that we were using so many tools for our teams. So why not we build Simplified? One place, one space, one platform. You can come and just real-time collaboration with your team and do all things marketing. So you can design marketing campaigns, you can make videos, you can add subtitles, trim your videos, write all the marketing copy from blogs to whatever, and then push all to social media. So you're managing all social media within Simplified. So from content creation to planning and publishing content, all happens in Simplified.
Sounds like a dream. I think it's like an answer to all my questions.
It is, and it's powered by AI. The timing was like perfect. AI was like just popping up, and we were the first really early company in getting in this OpenAI API access, and so everything is powered by AI. So not only that you do all things within Simplified Marketing Suite, also use AI to make it faster.
And also more to suit my style, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, using AI, I think, is more about, I think like, AI can be complicated. AI can be simple if you work with AI and make AI learn who are you,
Yes.
what tone do you like, things that you don't like, things that you would want to focus on, right? The goal for this content, right? And that's when AI really works with you side by side to make that content as amazing as you can. And then you take the lead on editing it and making it even better, whatnot. That's what AI does from graphics to writing.
And the reason I mentioned that is because I think I have also been training, sort of my own style of writing,
Nice.
because that's when you get the best, it just makes your job a lot more efficient,
Yeah.
and you're able to get through much more. But it also solves for this misunderstanding or this misnomer that we have that AI will standardize or productize or commoditize in very many ways storytelling. I don't think it'll do that, right? And I'm hearing you say that as well. If you're able to customize it and train it to suit your needs,
Yeah.
then it will give you the outcome which is best suited to you,
Yeah.
and therefore it's going to be unique.
I mean, that should be the goal. If you think of every story, this is like, you can ask AI to write my story.
Yeah.
The way I will tell my story is my story, right? But you can definitely have AI help you with the basic of the basic is ideation, and take your content and say, if I want my content to be in a certain tone, certain language, right? Certain style, I can do that using AI as a creator or as a company. So I think that's where the AI plays a big role. And I think a lot of time you spend is literally ideation. Like creative block is real.
True.
Right? Imagine how many people like just join a Zoom call, let's ideate, we have a bunch of ideas, and then no one can decide which idea is good, right? Oh, I'm running out of ideas. Oh, what if we ask AI to give us 20 more ideas? Okay, there we go. Now we are having a much more productive discussion.
Yeah.
So the AI should be there to help you, not to do your complete job for you, because that's why you are there to make it unique, and that's what sells.
Makes sense. I think one is new ideas. I agree with you. The creative block that people have. I think now it's also a lot of content fatigue.
Yeah.
Where you're looking at the same kind of content, you are also creating the same kind of content, and at some point you are so, myopic as well, because you're so used to it, and you get into an echo chamber that all you're thinking is about the same kind of ideas.
Because you're not injecting yourself into AI. Right? You need to inject yourself in AI. You need to be a part of AI as much as the AI is part of you, right? And that's why this sort of the content spinning out and not even customizing anything. They say, hey, write me this on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But not even saying, who are you? Like, what do you like? What you don't like? What should I say? What you shouldn't say? What should the reader feel? Feelings and emotions and tones, right? So I think once you really work with AI and do that kind of stuff, that's when really the magic happens. And that takes time. So if you really want to put out a quality content using AI, you have to work with AI to customize it to your needs. Once you do that, you will actually consistently produce really good content that you should look at, edit, change, whatever you want to really make sure now you take it even one notch up, really improve the quality of the content.
Can you maybe share a work that you've done with one particular business, a small business or a large business, where this has really unlocked tremendous value for them?
So we work with a lot of companies, a lot of agencies, but often I see the common advice I give them. So let's say you're writing some email sequence, or maybe let's talk about like a video. Maybe is the easiest thing, right?
Sure.
People create a lot of script, right? And you can say like I like this blog post that I read online, like a news article, and I want to share a video on this one. So first you read about that. If you like it, you give it to AI and say, hey, you know what? Take this blog and actually rewrite this now as a script for my YouTube channel. And then tell AI that this is who I am, right? I am witty and I'm funny and I am direct, maybe whatever that is. And I share raw conversations with people, right? So script it according to who I am. And then make sure that people are curious about my script. So the line should be punchy, the first opening line at least, right? You take that, record a video, And then we tell them to go and use Simplified and upload that video, and we caption it. So now you have the caption, and you say, I like this part, and you just select that part and take it out. And then when it's done, you publish a social media channel. So we really help our clients to use AI to solve for workflow.
Understood.
Not use AI as like a one-off task thing, but more like how can AI come in? So if I'm planning content for, let's say as an agency, for multiple clients, you can plan the full calendar, ask AI for each and every brand you work with, give them the brand book, give them what the brand stands for. AI will go ahead and create content for each brand tailored to specific type of content.
Oh my God.
So if I had 50 clients, I would have 50 types of brands. And AI would generate 50 different types of content ideas. That's how you can do it. Yeah, you plan it, and then you send that planner to the client. They can approve it, they can reject it. Once you have the final version of that, you go ahead and start to go ahead and maybe create graphics out of it now, maybe go ahead and create videos out of it, or keep it as a simple text and then start pushing to social media.
So what I'm also hearing you say is that a lot of the supply chain or the logistics of the marketing agency is getting automated, and AI is helping me build in many more efficiencies. But the end result, which is still the creative output that an agency and that a human being can give me, still very much remains.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is with AI, you can expect, I think here's the thing. Everyone can use AI. But do you want to use it yourself, or do you want to have someone who can manage the process for you?
Yeah.
Just because AI exists doesn't mean you have to use AI.
Of course.
You can let other people use it for you who are spending much more time in learning about AI. I mean, imagine as a creator, right? If you're a creator and you want to start your own business, before you would have to buy and invest in tools. Bunch of tools. You might have to even hire people.
Yeah.
A better copywriter, better designer, better video person, right? And then some social media manager. And you're one creator. Now you have no money, no resources. You've never done it before.
That's me. You're telling my story.
I think you all have been there, maybe, my story too. But, as an individual, right? So you would never start anything.
Yeah.
Now, let's say on Simplified, you can go to Simplified, start a free account. You start using AI. AI will write for you. AI will design for you. AI can also create videos for you. And AI can also come with a social media post for you. Now, I can take this and say, hey, I am open for business. As a creator, I can use...
I'm sold.
And just get first client.
Yeah.
Once you get the first one, then the next one, then the next one. Then you can maybe pay for a paid plan and go and upgrade and maybe use it more.
So that's your monetization, a paid plan.
Yeah. So we offer Simplified for free. And as to give you an idea, we now have roughly close to 5 million users in the platform.
Wow.
So we do support millions of free users, because we want creators of all kinds, all size, and all places to start creating content and make a living out of it. So if you want to make money, you just start using Simplified, start to create content for yourself, get your name out there, building a brand on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, and then hopefully promote that business, get clients, help them build their brands, and make money out of it.
Very interesting. And I was going to ask you, what about how many languages do you support? Because, if you're taking this global, or even if I talk about the India story, we have so many Indic languages, right? So, and the real value is in regional content. That's where a lot of the growth is now taking place.
I mean, we're not there yet, but I think if you use Simplified AI, we offer 90 plus writing templates, from sales copy to website copy to social copy to ads and whatnot. You can do 30 plus tones. You can do 30 plus languages, actually. So you can actually say, hey, I'm writing in English and French and Portuguese and Spanish and Hindi as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we support some regional languages. But I think the best thing you can do is you're sitting in India and you're selling outside. Right.
True.
So the barrier before was that I don't know German. I don't know French. I might not even know good English. But I think I can do the job.
Yeah.
Now AI comes in, you can say, hey, I got these 10 plus tones, I got these 30 plus languages, let me do those. And then I can now get a client from Germany. I can now get a client from States. I can get a client from maybe Brazil. And because now AI can do all of this for me, right?
Yeah.
And I can translate and I can write in the same language and localize. It's not like translation, local concept of language, right?
So it's not transliteration.
It's not transliteration.
Which is typically what we struggle with.
And I think you do it for a lot of languages, but I think in this case, AI will write that content. In some cases, if you have to translate, you do that. But now you have a global clientele where you get paid more for your time and you're sitting right here in your home. It can be your local city in India, you can be big city in India. You're not leaving and you just can still earn really good income.
Oh, that's incredible because, I think internet allowed for many more people to communicate freely. But
Yeah.
now what you're telling me is it's not just about the connection, because the way we would talk about communication, even at
Yeah.
WhatsApp or even now at Truecaller, which is, okay, I make the
Yeah.
bridge. But the struggle is you make the bridge, but people don't have the language
Yeah.
to communicate, right? And now I think AI and what you're doing at Simplified really bridges that puzzle in a way, or
Yeah.
is the jigsaw in that puzzle that allows for me to now speak the language that you understand, because there is this tool that can help me do
And
that.
creation, right? Like if you were communicating before, and let's say you talk to someone online, like LinkedIn, you made a friend.
Yeah,
And that friend maybe is building a brand. I can talk to you, but I can't offer you anything.
sure.
Right? And if that person is looking for, hey, you know what, or maybe you reach out to a company and they say, hey, I like the business you're building. This is an incredible service you offer, but this is it. Let's keep in touch. You can't do something, right? So now you say, hey, you know what, I like your business. I saw it online. I love you, blah, blah, blah. I've done some research. And it seems like you can actually use some help in building a better brand.
True.
Here's 5 examples that I came up with using, of course, AI. And you can say, here's some graphics, here's some copywriting. And I think this is what might help you grow your business online. And that is like, wow, I mean, this is crazy good. Are you available to be hired? And they can hire you. And you can literally sell your services by sitting in India or anywhere else in the world.
So the pitch just gets far more in depth,
Yeah.
as opposed to a very templatized general, hey, I'll help you improve and get better. And you're like, but how? And
But
by
how?
how much? And
Exactly.
why you and not some other person who can help me do the same
Exactly.
thing? Because I get a lot of these DMs and you're
So
right.
many. Same
It's-
DMs.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're like, but why should I work with you? I don't know who you are. I have
Yeah.
no sense on any sort of credibility or any references. How do I choose you over someone else? So something like this can
And
help.
the time. I mean, so let's say you run some business, right? And you want to expand that business. How do you actually grow more clients by not growing your team dramatically?
Oh, that's a
Right?
massive solve.
Right? So AI, what it would do, you can actually create more content, personalized content for way more clients by keeping a small team. So the profit margin is much higher.
True.
And everyone gets, so multiple agencies can be formed, multiple businesses can be formed or launched using AI. So everyone can make money because now the reach has gone wider.
Yeah.
You can actually serve much bigger audience base now by just creating more content.
And so are you also telling me that today, let's say sitting here, I'm making content in English and suddenly I decide I want to now create this content in other regional languages, whether that is, of course, the podcast is verbal, but if I was to do the similar thing in a writing context,
Yeah.
can AI or Simplified really help me translate this very quickly and then disseminate it to many more people and
Yes.
increase my reach?
You can do that. And actually, we're also working on like translation in subtitles.
Fantastic.
So you can record this podcast in English and give it to AI, and it's gonna put the subtitles in Hindi, in German, in French. So now suddenly you have this reach. You can localize.
Yeah.
Same, you can talk in English, right? But they can now read the subtitles and understand what you're saying.
Fantastic.
And soon you can even like customize the voice and actually like just even talk in that language, right?
Oh.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it, but I think Simplified is definitely getting after translation to make it easier for people to reach wider audience.
Amazing. No, this is pretty incredible. Talking about changing voices, I'm also now going to look at the other side and the challenge that comes with that,
Yeah.
which is a lot around deep fakes, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we're all going to struggle with that, and we still don't have ways to identify deep fakes. And we're seeing that at Truecaller a lot, where
Yeah.
people are mimicking somebody else's voice and then calling you and then trapping you into financial fraud, into transferring money because they're impersonating to
Yeah.
be your father, your mother, or your family member who's in deep need of money. How are you going to think about that? Because the answer is not we should not do this.
Yeah.
We should do
Yeah.
this because the value it brings is much more than the downside. But what are your thoughts around curbing the challenge of voice mimicking and deepfakes?
Just as think about like launching a new technology, right? And in this space of AI, if you're launching a new app, launching a new tool, launching a new service, you might want to make money. I mean, somehow you're driven by the profits of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great business, and people desire that service, right? Same way people do that. Same exact way people also say, hey, I don't want to be scammed, man.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to protect myself. Would you pay for that? Most likely would say yes.
100%.
Right?
It's like an insurance.
Yep. So that's exactly the motivation for someone else now to develop something that can spot and scan and recognize AI. It's almost the problem and solution comes from the same exact coin.
True.
There are two parts of it. So just the way now the market is growing for spams, I'm absolutely sure someone is already building, and it's out there. Someone has already built this service and better services in the future that would help you not get scammed, and you'll pay for that.
Yeah. Well, here's $1 million idea already here on this podcast that someone can go out there and build.
They can do it. They can definitely make it big.
And you're right, especially about, how you said that the technology itself has the solution. And I saw that at Facebook when I was at WhatsApp, where we had this massive misinformation challenge, which is, we're still dealing with it even now. But it was the same Facebook tool which allowed for all of this content to be disseminated at scale. You also then had fact checkers coming in and doing the same fact checking at scale. So the solution was very much within the challenge itself. So I couldn't agree more with you. Just shifting gears a little bit, how are you seeing a lot of the trends in India and in the startup ecosystem in India evolving? Because you've just already shared one incredible business idea, but what are some of the other ideas that you see potentially India being in a very sweet spot to create those?
I think one thing I've noticed in India now is just the Atmanirbhar thing that I've been, seeing the branding and then reading about it, whatnot.
But you're like the brand ambassador for Atmanirbhar. At 17, you moved to the US, you were self-sustainable, making your own money. So you're like a brand ambassador for Atmanirbharta.
For that, just the concept, I think I can say yes. So I think I see a lot of amazing entrepreneurs in India that are building for India, self-reliant, right? Mm-hmm. Just depend on yourself, right? I think that is the biggest change, biggest innovation, biggest, I think, scale that we'll see in the next decade to come. People are going to build for India, for Indians, to solve our own problems, actually. That is happening at scale. At the same time, people also realize that how hard it is to make money out of India at this stage.
True.
People are getting used to it. Consumers are still not spending that much money. So it's all growing numbers, right? So the big thing is India building for the world. That's the second concept, right? So I think India is getting stronger and stronger. It's already actually really strong, that more entrepreneurs want to actually build solutions for the world, stay here, and get paid from other countries. So that's going to, I think, expand like crazy in the next decade to come. Even if you think about our company, even living in California now, most of our team is in India. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of living the same dream, we're just outside, of course. So we're building out of India, and we have teams globally, but majority, let's say, in India, and we're selling to the US.
Do you feel like our product principles and the UI, UX and the sophistication of the apps that we are building out of here are global standards? Because I feel differently about that. So I just want to get your view.
I think it's not yet, and I think it's going to get there. So I think the big maybe change in India is everything is new. I think, actually, let me go back to this one story I read online. So when you call something like a startup ecosystem, what does an ecosystem mean, right? And someone said, or I read online, is that startup ecosystem is, let's say I have an idea and I want to find an engineer. I go around the block and there's a great engineer that I can find. Now I have a team. Now I want to actually get funded. So I go around the block, same block, I have an investor who would fund me. Now I'm struggling with some advice. So I go around the block again, and maybe there's some person living there who has been a great advisor, great execution, blah, blah, blah. And now they advise me.
So I think the block you're talking about is Indira Nagar in Bangalore.
Actually, not yet, right?
Sure.
Not yet. It's developing, right?
Yeah.
So that scaled the block to a country level. That is an ecosystem. So I think in the US, why it's so amazing and why this works, there's cities and cities, right, where you can do this anytime, anywhere. You can find all people you need within a block. And I think that needs to be developed in India, and I think it's happening. So the more companies we see that become big and actually exit through IPOs or through buyouts, M&As, or massive money or ESOP sellouts, I think what we need to see in India, the change, I think what should happen is people need to make money and scale companies. So when employees actually exit and they've made money, they become entrepreneurs.
So right. And I think that's what really created that ecosystem in the
Yes.
Bay Area.
In the Bay Area.
And now we're seeing that in India, where you had a Flipkart or you had
I know, all these
a Make
companies.
My Trip,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, where a lot of these employees
Yes.
now have created their second ventures.
Exactly.
And now that's sort of multiplying and
Yes.
allowing for many more startups to come up, many more founders to come
Yeah.
up. But you're right, we still have a long way to go to.
Because that experience, right, would be like they know what to do, what not to do. But I think that going back to the design question, I think we definitely lack in design, UI, UX. I think technology is a great strength, but other stuff not so much. And I think people haven't demanded that. It all comes from what people demand, right?
True.
If people demand a cleaner design, minimalist design, blah, blah, blah. But that is changing. If people buy more iPhones, that's a reflection of you appreciate clean design. If you buy Macs, you appreciate clean design, right? If you use better apps and that are pleasing to your eyes and better experience, that means you appreciate design. So that's gonna come. But that is like everything to customer support.
Sure.
Same thing for the refund policies. I think you can talk about all these things. But I think overall the ecosystem as it develops, it'll all get better.
And where do you see yourself in this ecosystem? Are you in some capacity trying to give back, mentoring many more companies because you have this immense knowledge and wisdom of starting a company and also now building out another one? So how are you giving back?
I'm still learning, just a student of life, But what I've been doing for the past decade, I used to take a meeting, I think, at least every other day. I don't do that anymore. It's too many meetings. So what I do is I still say yes to a lot of meetings, and I would meet entrepreneurs who are just starting out. And whatever questions, so with my time, I like to give back. I also invest as an angel, and actually I've made 3 investments in India.
Fantastic.
And I'm making my 4th one soon. So I am involved, and I've been coming back to India, visiting for the past decade. And it's a typical route for me. I come to India, and I like meeting young entrepreneurs. So I travel to from Delhi to Bangalore to Mumbai, and I would just meet people. And some of them become good friends who are doing even better than I am in Bangalore and other places. Some are newer who are just like I'm helping or maybe listening and learning more than anything actually. So that's the way I spend my time in India.
So just like getting a feel of the country, getting the pulse of what's going on.
Yeah. And I believe in meeting a lot of younger people. The more I meet them, the better I have a pulse of what's really happening. They really know what's happening. So I think you want to be around them.
Yeah, that's true. Just one other thing. So, what do you do to always stay ahead, right? I think even with Simplified, you are identifying a trend which is now upcoming and you will see the value or you will see the outcome of it soon. And, many more creators will be able to participate. But what do you do in your personal practice? Whatever that could be, to make sure, one, you are grounded, two, you are seeing these spots and staying ahead of the curve?
Number one is definitely hanging out around smarter people, just people who are smarter than me. And then trends, I think, is more like reading. I think reading is a big part of me. I like to read, especially news. It's like a habit in India growing up, and Dad would give me the newspaper.
Yes.
It has stuck with me so far and served me really well. And I remember reading the business section of that paper, even when I was a kid, actually. Something about that was fun. So I read a lot, from news to books to podcast, always doing something just to learning. And then having these conversations, it's kind of you easily can underestimate meeting people. If you want to stay ahead and you want to know what's happening, if you meet more people who are doing something amazing, you stay up to date, actually. And then, I think overall practice is just making sure that I'm grounded. I'm focusing on my health is a big deal for me. So working out, now just try running actually. Meditation, if I can plug it in, I try to do it, not so often anymore. I used to do it every day before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what sort of meditation do you do
Just
when you were doing?
Play just some sounds and just 10 minutes, just breathe.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. I don't like the guided meditations. Yeah, it gets in my head. I have to be quiet, just quiet meditation and see my thoughts myself.
Fantastic, yeah.
So do that and not to let me bother me and just get back to my breathing again and again. So I would do that. Overall, long walks. I'm a big fan of walks. Being in LA, in California, walks are beautiful. So I can walk a mile or 2 every day, actually. Just walk,
wow.
yeah, take my dog out and just long walks.
Tell me a little bit about, you said you were meditating and now you're not. Do you see a difference in that 10 minute of just observing your thoughts and yourself in that silent meditation vis-a-vis when you don't do it?
Yes, I think now I've started back up again, not the meditation, but slowing down myself when I wake up. And I've seen a big change. Like, I think big changes when I was doing it is like I was not getting to my day right away. It's like almost like attack mode. You know, when you're like 20 something, something happens to you and attack it. Almost like a brute force, like you're going on a war, like when you wake up. That's how I felt, like in my
Yeah.
20s. I'm like, why am I so like hyper? You know? Now I feel like I don't want to go anywhere, you know? So I found that if I can slow down or create a gap, waking up and getting to my work, even if that is like 10 minutes or half an hour, like an hour, if I can chill, I feel much better. I mean, much more control of myself and especially my emotions, because being a founder and being just running a company and leading something is really about, can you handle your emotions? I think this is the most of it, actually. And I think I'm really proud that I think from my experiences, I think I'm not there yet, but I think decently good with it.
You've seen so much in life already, right? So many ups and downs, so many challenges and high moments, really low and then really high, right? What is that one thing that you feel you kept going back to, no matter what, when there was this high or this low, that allowed you to just get through your day or get through your months of struggle or highs? It doesn't matter what it was, but just helped you get through it.
I mean, I watched that video with a bunch of actors saying this shall too pass, right? But I think the big thing has kept me this way is actually finally realizing that I shouldn't chase anything. Things would happen. Whatever I do, I should do the best I can. So chasing the $1 billion, the $10 billion only creates anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of this like fear, you know. I think I've come to really realize that what I'm here to do is just learn. Simply just focus on learning and do my job as best as I can and let the universe decide whatever it is for me. Because I think if you look at the micro and macros, right, adding like $1 billion won't change my life much. I'm a very simple dude, just lives in simple life. As long as I get to spend time with family and my friends and learn and do what I love the most, I'm grateful for that. So I think waking up and saying, wow, I get to work on things I actually love, I'm so grateful, because most people don't do that.
Yeah.
So I am the lucky one. So why am I chasing and why am I scared and why am I like anxious? So I think finding peace in the things you can do and you're able to do that most people cannot is what has centered at least some of me.
So much wisdom in there, and also just you sharing this also to a very large extent makes you human, right? Because sometimes when you look at your LinkedIn profile and you're like, oh my god, this guy is incredible, how has he done so many things? And just you saying a lot of this, which is taking the time to accept yourself, just taking the time to get perspective, not chasing the $1 billion dream, because you never chased it. You just did every day what you loved and you showed up no matter what. And that has got you to be where you are. And I think there's a lot for us to learn, and a lot of youngsters also for us, to learn, to listen to your story by saying, don't look at that $1 billion valuation. Just do what you love and do it every day and do it to the best of your capability. And there will be highs and there will be lows, but just as long as you can anchor within yourself, things will be okay.
Yeah, you'll get through it.
Yeah, this too shall pass, like you said. The highs and the lows, both.
Yeah.
So I just want to wrap this up by saying, what's next for you? How are you seeing yourself for the next 3 to 5 years? What is that journey looking like for you?
And for the next decade, we're just building Simplified. We want to help millions and millions of creators, if not hundreds of millions of creators, actually, to use Simplified and actually just create marketing content.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Can't wait. And I think I'm going to become a user. I did look at the product, of course, but I'm going to go, or rather the platform, but I'm going to go back and now
Definitely try it out.
sign up.
Hey, let me know.
Yeah, I will. And thanks so much for this. Thanks for the conversation. Extremely enlightening for me. And thank you for being so open, honest, and vulnerable, and sharing everything.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been fun being here. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks.